I'm the Jewish Outreach Director for the Obama campaign here in Florida. I just wanted to first thank you all for being here and joining us on this special night. I wanted to thank Congresswoman Wasserman Schultz for joining us, and moreover, thank Senator Dan Gelber and his wife Joan for graciously allowing us to...
15, 20 minutes, you weren't clapping for me.
I think the TV knew when Paul Ryan was speaking because
he did seem to do it when Ryan spoke.
He wasn't telling the truth. That's why he was cutting out a little bit. So I'd like to introduce Senator Gelber.
I'll be fast because I want Debbie to speak. But I want to first introduce. It's my dad. By the way, let's be very honest. My dad has always said to me, "Please don't ever run against Debbie Wasserman Schultz because I'm not sure you're going to be happy with who I voted for." I don't really like that. Also, we have a new representative representing this district, Representative Richardson. This is a great community. I'm very proud of it. I'm proud to have served in the seat. This is a real groundbreaking moment for the Florida legislature. It's the first openly gay member of the legislature. It's not going to define Representative Richardson because I think he's going to be a wonderful legislator, but it is going to bring a little bit of social justice to the body that desperately needs a little bit of social justice. So congratulations on you. My little brother Travis Thomas. We talk about like a lot of people doing stuff. This is a young man. I've been his big brother since he was 6. He's grown up. Literally, he lives today surrounded by crack houses in the Grove, and he, is married now. Has a 3-year-old. He's got his life together. Dad, come on, man. Maybe not your 3, but what I want to tell you is he got his life together, and he went to Miami-Dade, went to Nova, ended up with a 3.7 average. A month ago, he took his dental boards to get into dental school, scored in the 93rd percentile, wow. And he's going to go to dental school. And I'll make this very quick, because you know her, and there's nothing I could say that can introduce her any better, but let me just say this. People go into public office, they go for a lot of reasons. Some go because they like rose petals cast before them. Some go because they like the perks. Some go because they desperately couldn't do anything else and they need to be loved. And some go, unfortunately, because they want to make money. And then there are people that go because there's something in them that doesn't complete them unless they're fighting for a principle or a group of people. Generally, a group of people who don't have an advocate and can't speak for themselves. I've been fortunate enough to serve with people like that. My friend Nan Rich is one of those people, by the way. Senator Rich is, let me tell you, there's nothing she ain't going to fight for. And the bigger, and just like Debbie, the two of you are very similar in that the bigger the foe, the more powerful the foe, the more you want to engage them. And I think that is a Jewish tradition, by the way. She likes, if it's the powerful money, it's a female Jewish tradition. But I will tell you something, I've never been more proud to stand beside Debbie, and I'm so proud of what she is, Florida's favorite daughter. There's no question about that. And why don't you tell us what you think about this debate? And this isn't a partisan affair, but I do have a lot of Obama hats if anybody wants them. Debbie, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, I know how I felt. I think Joe Biden showed exactly why Barack Obama asked him to serve as his Vice President of the United States of America tonight. The man that I saw on that stage tonight proves that he has the experience, the gravitas, the understanding, and the empathy to make sure that we can continue to move this country forward and rebuild our economy from the middle class out. I also happen to serve with the other man on the debate stage tonight on the Budget Committee, and I've had an opportunity to debate him on more than one occasion. And let's just say that I think our Vice President solidly won this debate tonight, did a fantastic job showing the clear choice and the clear path based on 2 completely different visions and directions for the country and the way we could go. I am very proud to have been asked by this team, President Obama and Vice President Biden, to chair the Democratic National Committee. The thing that I'm the most proud of, though, professionally, is to represent you in Washington. And so thank you for that privilege as well. I agree with you on Nan Rich, by the way, who succeeded me twice, both in the State House and in the State Senate, and who over many years now, we have alternately mentored each other. And so it really, you don't know where Nan Rich ends and Debbie Wasserman Schultz begins, and vice versa.
I've never seen you together.
That's right. We're actually in the same room at the same time. We never could serve in the same body because we share the same brain and the same heart. So thank you so much for your service, Nan. And we're going to miss you, but maybe not for long. Maybe not for long. I want to just quickly, and I could tell just by the body language and the whoops and cheers and everybody's reaction here that you agree that Vice President Biden did a fantastic job. I mean, I think he really clearly articulated that we need to make sure that we have a president and a vice president on foreign policy that understands the very challenging and vexing problems that we face in the world, and that we have an administration now that has brought us from where we were in the Bush administration years, where our reputation internationally had been decimated because of a go-it-alone strategy that President Bush took on, the cowboy justice. We had alienated all of our allies. We had almost no ability to influence our friends and people who weren't so, and countries that weren't so friendly diplomatically, because essentially we made a decision to invade Iraq and had no regard for what anyone else thought, and used faulty intelligence that was designed to fit the solution that President Bush at the time decided was what we had to do. Thanks to President Obama and Joe Biden, we have now reestablished our reputation as an international leader, as a world leader, as the finest example of democracy in the world. And as a result, because of Iran's quest to attain a nuclear weapon, we've been able to make sure that the most biting sanctions that Iran has ever faced, that any country has ever faced, as Vice President Biden talked about tonight, not only were pushed through the United Nations by President Obama's administration, but were joined by Russia and China. Now, that's something that in my time in Congress and in my time of observing foreign policy, China and Russia certainly have never been cooperative in the Security Council on almost anything related to Middle Eastern politics. And so this is a president and an administration who has been able to restore our reputation, rebuild relationships, and make sure that we can have the kind of influence that the United States should have when it comes to what is essentially not just a global economy, but a series of day-to-day interactions that result in our needing to have the kind of influence that we had lost in the previous administration. And then when it comes to Israel, and since this is a primarily Jewish group, and we're also pretty late, so I don't want to talk too long, but I think everyone here understands that we're 26 days from what I think is the most important election of our lives. And a year and a half ago, President Obama asked me to take on what has been a third full-time job for me, besides being my amazing children's mother and being your representative in Congress. And he asked me to watch his back and bring him across the finish line. And that role has taken me away from our kids a little bit more than normal. And besides that, when the president asks you to do anything, the answer is always yes. I knew that there was so much at stake in this election. And I knew that and so did Steve, my husband, that for our kids, if voters made the wrong decision on November 6th, and we woke up the morning of November 7th and weren't sending Barack Obama back to the White House for a second term, then the impact on our kids and the children of the families that I represent would affect them for decades, and really for generations. And then when it comes to making sure that for me, as the first Jewish woman to represent Florida in Congress, someone who brings my love of Israel to work with me every single day, and who made Tikkun Olam a career choice, on domestic issues, whether it's education, women's health, civil rights and civil liberties, standing up for people who have no voice, making sure that we have a healthcare system that is the finest in the world, that covers everyone, and that, as my father has told me my entire life, if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. And as someone who has lived that personally, being a breast cancer survivor, I know that my Jewish values and the Jewish values that I know we all share mean that President Obama and Vice President Biden deserve our support once again. When it comes to Israel, you have only to listen to Israeli leaders who say that Israel has had no greater friend than Barack Obama. Whether it's in the face of a difficult and challenging economy, 4 years running of more than $3 billion in foreign aid. when President Obama went to Israel and stood in Sderot, in southern Israel, and saw the results of rocket attacks launched from the south of Israel. That informed his position when he became president, and immediately he went and championed $205 million Iron Dome missile defense system, and then another $70 million earlier this year to deploy those batteries around the rest of the perimeter of Israel, which has been able to prevent 80% of those rocket attacks from hitting their targets. The president stood in front of the entire world last September, and then again when everyone who follows Israeli politics and the U.S.-Israel relationship and the peace process, at the beginning of last summer, in 2011, if anyone had said to us at the beginning of last summer that not only would the Palestinians not unilaterally declare a Palestinian state, we certainly were going to veto it in the Security Council, but because President Obama threw the gauntlet down and made it very clear to the entire world that the only path to a two-state solution, the only path to a state for the Palestinians was through direct bilateral negotiations. But if you had asked us, those of us that follow this closely, that there wouldn't even be a vote in the General Assembly when they knew they had 130, at least, countries that would support them, because President Obama didn't just go to the UN and give a speech. He deployed the full strength of his diplomatic corps and Ambassador Rice and ensured that the Palestinians would understand that there would be consequences if they pressed that vote. And there was no vote. President Obama has had Israel's back in word and in deed, and it's why we all need to have his for the next 26 days. So no one wakes up on the morning of November 7th with any regrets that we should have worked a little bit harder. So I know that I have lived my Jewish values and put them into practice every single day. I know that you do too. And so Dan Gelber, but Dan Klinetsky, our Jewish outreach coordinator in Florida, has documents that are going to help us push back on the lies and the distortions and mischaracterizations, because the Republicans are in full-out lying mode, because they know they can't get anywhere with Jews on domestic issues, because they're wrong on, as we saw very clearly tonight from Paul Ryan's mouth. The Romney-Ryan ticket and Republicans are wrong on every issue that matters to Jews domestically. So they have to lie. And so we need to push back and make sure that Jewish voters know the truth. And so we need you out there. We need you to host other house parties, invite your friends, activate your networks, make sure that you encourage people to get out and vote, and to go to Jewish Americans for Obama's website, which I think is jewishamerican.barackobama.com, and get the information to help spread the word. Thank you.
Thank you all.